Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another Destiny 2 Back to Basics video. Again, I'm Sciences Waffles for coming to hang out and check out the channel. All right, so uh, this is gonna be another one of those teaching you about the Destiny 2 stuff that all of us, whether we're casuals, new to the game, hardcore players, whatever you want to call us, some things that we tend to forget about and help out new players with. It's just like a small remind. These are like there's a series of videos that are just like small reminders. So last week we had talked about the director, went in a little bit of detail about the things going on over there. With that, this week we're going to talk about the settings tab, the inventory screen, and the character screen. So, if you're on PC, you can press the escape key on your keyboard, and you will get this menu here, which is basically shortcuts to called the game options, which will allow you to go to your director, your character screen, settings, change your character, which means you can change to whatever class or how many characters you made. You can change to those, or actually straight to the desktop. For us, we're gonna go straight to the settings menu. All right, we're gonna start here. I'm going to move an item from my inventory over to. I'm gonna move a couple of things over so you guys can see what it looks like. But boom, there we go. See those things pop up on the right side of my screen above my head, right? We're gonna talk about that a little bit later. As you know, like we explained it before, but like we see that Bungie loves to use tabs for showing off things. So everything is basically a giant tab system going on throughout the entirety of the game. On this particular screen, we have 5 different options off to the left that you see there. Called the first one starts off with keyboard and mouse. If you're on PC, you will have this option and you will see these settings that you'll be able to change. I am not so certain about this on console. All right, I'll state that first. What I do know though is when we get down to the controller settings, I'll explain. There's something that happens there that's on both. All right, so here on the keyboard and mouse screen, you can change your options and settings, tweak the settings for your mouse sensitivity, the ADS modifier, and what that ADS modifier is, aim down sights. You can change the speed at which the mouse will be able to move when you're aiming down sights versus when you're just looking around normal. Your vertical and horizontal inversion, obviously, whether or not the mouse goes in the opposite direction that you move. So like if I moved left, the mouse would go right. If I moved right, the mouse would go left, that kind of thing. That's what inversion is. It's inverted. Aim smoothing, obviously, to make your movement a little bit smoother in the game. All right, scroll down a little bit. We see global. This is where this section here has an option called the keybind storage. You can toggle this between account and computer. What this is any options you change in here for the button layout or loadout that you want for your personal preference, it will be stored in the cloud based on your account. So whatever account you load Destiny up with, it can be stored to that particular account. So if you go to another computer and load it up, you will have your settings loaded up with you. If you set it to computers, it will only allow you to store the button layout to that particular computer that you're on. So it will not transfer it across the cloud. That's as simple as I can get with that. We scroll down here to common. This is where you can change your movement options for your keyboard, the finisher option. That's a specialty attack that you can do when an enemy is low on health. The emote wheel that you have on your keyboard, which is literally just the arrow keys. What button is for your push to talk and what button is to return to orbit or to abort in an activity. That button there, abort an activity, is something you'll probably commonly do. When you're at the end of an activity and there's a timer, you can either manually leave that activity or you can just wait for the timer to end and it'll drop you off at orbit or re-queue you if you're in a matchmaking activity that constantly goes on, like Crucible or Vanguard strikes, or the matchmaking parts of the Nightfalls. So be mindful of that with the button you selected at. All these options you can change to whatever your personal preference is. Okay, so keep that in mind. Character. So for the character buttons here, these particular buttons focus on what things you can do when you are in first person view mode on your character. Now, there's the thing you're going to notice about the game is when you're in a primary vendor or a normal vendor space like the tower, you're in a third person view mode. Some of these options aren't available to do. But when you get out on the planets and patrols and stuff like that, you'll be able to use these options such as firing, reloading, melee, and all that kind of stuff. All right, you can change these options again to whatever personal preference you have. Go through, read each one, see what they are, and see what you can change. Scrolling down a little bit further, you have vehicle. In the game, we have multiple types of vehicles that we can get into. Our sparrows are one. They do not have any weaponry abilities, but there are tanks that are in the game that you can acquire on certain sections of the game, and they have firing modes. They have a primary and a secondary, as well as zoom and boosts and all that stuff too. So there's enemy bikes or pikes, starting with a P for Pete. And then obviously you can change those buttons to whatever your personal preference may be as well. Scrolling down a little bit further, we have the user interface shortcuts, UI shortcuts for short. Too many shorts. Deploy, let me not say deploy goes. Here you can change the shortcut buttons to immediately access those particular things in the game. So our ghost is something we constantly use. For mouse and keyboard players, it's going to be the tab button by default. For controller players, depending on your console, on PS4, it's going to be the touchpad. On Xbox, I believe it's going to be the start button. Or if it's it's the start button, the arrow button on this side, I believe that's what it's called. It's been a while since I've seen the Xbox controller, but I'll try to look up that information to make sure I'm more accurate later. And you can set specific hotkeys to take you to a specific tab and all of these menus that we have, because there's a crap ton of menus in this game and it can get a little bit confusing and overwhelming. Just know when you come in here into the settings, these are the default things that you can bind keys to. If you don't see it here, you can't bind a key to it, and you have to actually navigate towards to that tab. All right, so come in here, change these buttons to your personal preference so that it's easier for you to access all of these things. All right, and as you see here, we have the director, quest, roster, season, clans, collections, triumphs, character, inventory, and settings. You might have seen me access the director, use our ghost, do the quest tab, the roster, seasons tab. The rest of these I have not. Actually, I've used the clan. I've gone, and that's part of the roster. I haven't gone to the clan tab. I haven't used any of these for you guys yet, but that doesn't mean you can't. So go in, change these buttons to whatever you want, and use the shortcuts. I'm fine navigating through menus, so some of these options I don't have buttons for. Controller, along the same lines as keyboard and mouse, but for a physical controller. So like this PS4 controller. There we go. So if you are playing on PC, you have to have the controller plugged in order to edit these options. And what that looks like is when you plug it in, the cursor will change, and I'll show you right now. So when I plug in this controller right here, I'll get a little notification noise, and the cursor will change when I start to move the button to the controller console cursor, which is the controller cursor. And then these options are highlighted that I can now change. As soon as I unplug my controller though, I no longer am able to edit those options. So bear in mind that is PC only. Console, you will always have access to these options. And same rules apply here. Look sensitivity, the inversions. You can turn on or off your controller vibration, and auto look the centering, which means the analog that controls your look. You can turn this on to automatically center the screen, so you can just run in one direction without having to be like all over here, looking here while you're going straight, you know? And then the double press delay is there are some buttons in the game or some actions in the game that require you to press a button twice. This delay is just so that you can activate that action a little bit quicker. Next up, we have the video tab, all right, where this allows you to customize settings for your graphics, all right, and what you see on screen. So under the first set of subset section, you have the video section, which is the video section. You can change the window mode, which is from full screen to windowed. I play in window full screen because I use multiple computers. So I constantly need my mouse to kind of enter and exit the screen without tabbing out or minimizing my window. You change your resolution, turn VSync on or off. Frame rate cap, you can adjust that. You can set the frame rate to whatever you want it to be manually. If you turn the frame rate cap on, so as soon as I turn this on, I can adjust this to whatever number I want it to be. But I have it off so that there's an unlimited amount of frames to whatever my video card can handle. Field of vision, or FOV, is something we probably heard regularly throughout video games. This allows me to expand what I can see in my vision. So like for a person, like if you think about it this way, think about it like binoculars, right? if you put your hands over your eyes like this, you can only see whatever's in inside this little section of your hands, right? So the smaller you make it, the less you can see. So try that out, and that is the best way I can describe FOV. All right, you can adjust that to whatever you need to be. On PC, it's a bit higher than it is on PC, so remember, keep that in mind. I mean, on PC is a bit higher than it is on console, so keep that in mind. And then you can adjust the screen bounds as well, which this does is let you adjust where the edges of the screen are. You can spread them out past your monitor or TV size, or you could make it smaller. And then also up brightness, obviously, to make it so that you can see darker spots in the game a little bit easier. If you scroll down to the advanced section, this allows you to tweak the settings on your graphics card for quality. Just know that any of these settings that you change can affect the performance of your computer as well. So keep that in mind. If you notice at the top where it says VRAM usage, that's kind of like your indicator of like, hey, my video card has this amount of RAM. I should probably like keep it at a moderate level so that I could have some decent looking graphics, but also, you know, not run my video card too hot. But it's personal preference. If you want to run it at full quality so the game looks super beautiful with no like jagged edges or things like that, rock out. If you want to run it at super low like I do, just so you can have better performance on it, rock out. That's pretty much what I do. Additional video options here. So a portion of most of these are going to be available to you. So render resolution, chromatic aberration, and film grain naturally available to you. If you have one of the newer video cards, HDR will be available to you. But since I do not, I have a 1070 in my computer at this moment, so I do not have the option for HDR. I believe it also is related to your monitor too. So if you do not have any of those options to like really handle that is hardware specific, then you will not be able to change that. But if you do, rock out. Moving over to sound, this is where we can change the volume for sound effects, dialogue, music, chat, in-game voice chat, and whether or not when the screen is focused, meaning if the screen is alt tabbed, like if I hit the Windows key here, it's behind the Windows, the start menu. If I had that set to muted, you would not hear any of the game music. But if I had it set to, because I have it set to not muted, anything that happens in the game you can hear. Right now nothing's going on, so there's no audio that you can hear. And then you can also change the options, turn the options on for whether or not you want to have in-game voice chat turned on or not, so you can hear it all the time. And your push to talk button, whether or not you want that on for yourself, and whether or not you want to manually opt in or out of the text voice channel. This option here, when it says manually opt in or out, you're gonna see that in a couple of different places. That just means that you have to manually go in to the game's chat and select, hey, I want to join this channel. All right. There's text options to do that. Maybe I'll put that in the description below. Next, we go over to the gameplay tab, and this is where all of your accessibility options are. Okay, like changing the HUD capacity, your reticle color. For those who are colorblind, like myself here, you can set the specific colorblind settings for you that works for you to be able to see the colors in the game like a normal like normal. You turn on whether or not you want your FPS counter on, all that kind of stuff here. So be mindful, go in, look at it, read every option, and then go on from there. That's it. Okay. On this screen, we're gonna go over everything that you see here. So breaking this down, we have give me a second. All right. Inventory screen shows off it's a small collection of the objects and things that you collect in the game, usables, consumables, and things of that nature, obviously. All right. So over to the right side of the screen, this is where you get to read how much glimmer you have, the amount of legendary shards you have, and we'll break these things down later in the later videos. Some of this stuff is going to correlate to other things in the future, but right now we're just going over what you see and what you can do on these screens. So up in the top right, we have our glimmer, legendary shards, our silver, and our bright dust. This is our in-game. These are our currencies that we can use to buy and purchase things in the game. Over here or below that, we have our engrams right here, things that drop on the ground to give us loot, okay, or that we obtain by getting a certain amount of XP. And when we level up, we get rewarded some of these things as well. That's where they are located. Wrapped items here. Sometimes there are items that come from events. So if it's like if it's an event and it passes and you still have it, it may get deposit that item here, or it may have that item here just because of an event that is going on. Not really used that often, so keep that in mind. Also, items from the Eververse store will appear here too. So when you buy a pack or a bundle, it shows up over there so that you don't accidentally delete it. Majority of the time though, I've seen these packs show up in the consumable area or in the modifications area. So keep that in mind. Let's slide over here to the left side of the screen where we got 3 filters. We're going to start from the top here with consumables. All right. In this screen, you have items that you can use to obtain other items like upgrade materials and resources to help you upgrade your armors, or vendor tokens to buy loot from planetary vendors. So if you highlight these, you'll see the description of what they all do, and you can go from there. Remember to highlight and read the description to understand what it does. Case in point, like this consumable here is called the Finest Matter Weave. It gives me a chance to, when I defeat a boss, that boss will drop an item called an enhancement core that lets, and what this enhancement core does, it lets me upgrade my armor. It's the currency to upgrade my armor. So those are the benefits. And then tokens, this one right here is Iron Banner, allows me to talk to a vendor and turn them in to get free loot without having to do anything other than just pay the person the amount that they want. Okay. There's many different items here. I suggest you go in and whatever you get, go in, read it, understand what it's for, its uses, and carry on with that. We go down one more to the modification screen. This is where you'll be able to see your mods that you obtained over the course of your life in Destiny. There was a time where we had to collect mods, and we can hold them in stacks to apply them to our weapons and armor. That no longer is a thing. I still, I'm nostalgic and I hold on to certain things. So the ones with numbers are the older mods. The ones that are kind of like grayed out are the newer ones that are permanent, that we can constantly use over and over and over and over again. So keep that in mind. Things like transmat effects, ghost projections, they all show up here. So whenever you get those things that customize your ghost, or your ship, you come here to see them. But when you go to your ghost or your ship, you apply them on those screens. All right, go down one more, and this is where your shaders are stored. All those colorful options you get to select and put on your character. You get to make it ugly or beautiful, whatever your choice is. All right, you select that. This is where they're located. Now, be mindful, every section of the inventory screen has 50 slots. So the consumable section has 50 spaces that you can fill up with items, and so on and so on. I just ruined the thing, but I'll go over that in a little bit. Matter of fact, I'll go over it right now. So something I want to point out is when you get a new item in your inventory or on your character screen, those items will flash. And what I mean by flash is, and I just kind of eliminated it. I'm gonna bring a new item into my inventory. All right, cool. And what happens is there's a flash that happens like every 2 seconds, right? And you see it on the section that item goes to. So be mindful to look out for this flash. Whenever you pick up an item and get something new, it will flash in your inventory, and this is how you identify it. All right. Once you highlight that item, that new item, the flash will stop. So that's the only thing I'm gonna keep pointing out here is when you get something new, make sure you go into your inventory to check and look at the sections that have a nice little flashing square. This is gonna happen on your character screen as well, and we're gonna move over to that right now. Boom, character screen. What you catch on this screen, you get that same list of glimmer, legendary shards, silver, and bright dust showing here, so you know that's there. You don't have to go sliding over to your inventory screen to see that all the time. Okay, you get a nice little image of your character, the sparrow, and the ghost that the character has, as well as some flurries of the energy in their hands. And now we'll go over what you can select on the screen. So first, on the left side of the screen, we have our subclasses here at the top, right? If you highlight that, you'll see the other 2 subclasses that you can select from. And if you right click on those, you'll go in and you'll be able to change the options within those. All right. Next, below that, we have our weapons, which is classified into 3 groups. You have the kinetic slot, which is the first one. You have the energy weapons, which is the second slot. And the power weapons, which is the third slot. Below that, we have our ghost. Remember, click, read, right click, read. If you're on console, hit whatever button it is to read it. I don't know what it is, so I'm not sure. I don't use the controller that often to go in and look at things. Below that, we have our seasonal artifact, which is different every season of the game. Moving on to the right side of the screen, you see our power level here. This is the indicator of how strong we are, as well as basically our XP / level, whether or not we do more damage or take more damage, and whether or not we're eligible for specific activities. All right. Below that, you have the stats for the armor. So you have our mobility, resilience, recovery, discipline, intellect, and strength. We'll talk more about these in detail later when we start going down and breaking down builds and things like that. I want to kind of have in the future a guest come on to kind of go over what these things do and what some cool builds and stuff like that are that you can try out. But the main point of that probably will be to think outside the box. But we'll touch on that a little bit later. All right, moving on to the armor. Right here, you have your helmet, you have your gauntlets. You have your chest armor, you have your leg armor, and then you have your class item. This one's currently a warlock bond, obviously, because I'm a warlock. All right. If you select any one of these weapons or armor, you see it expands into 9 slots. You can have up to 10 pieces of gear on at once. Once you have 10 pieces of gear on, you cannot collect any more on this particular screen. But if you have an empty slot, when you get a new item, it will show up here. But if this is full, that item will go to your postmaster. So keep that in mind. It's the same thing for your armor. If those slots are all full, whatever new items you pick up will go to your postmaster. All right. Going down here to the bottom, we have the clan banner. This basically just tells us the perk that we've unlocked with our clan members. So if you're join a clan in the game and they are playing consistently, your clan gains XP over time to unlock benefit perks that help give you bonuses throughout the course of your gameplay. Next, we're going to go down to the second screen of the character screen, which whatever the button is for your platform, you press that to go down one. For me, it's S because I'm on PC. All right, and I can go here to customize and change my sparrow, my ship, my emotes, my finishers, and the emblem that I rock. You see I got the Black Lives Matter emblem. Carry on. All right. Now, notice the flashing is happening here too because we have a new emote. So emotes, items, anything new that you get will flash. And then you have to find that flashing item. So mine are at the bottom here. These 2 are new. I've never used them, never touched them, didn't even look at them. All right, I obtained them. Happy that I got them. Cool. Moving on. So that's pretty much it. The main point of this is to remember to look and see what you have that is new. Notice the little icon at the bottom of the screen here. So before I even went down to the emote screen, I could have saw this and be like, oh, I got a new emote. Cool. I know where to go. It tells you appearance subscreen. You have new items on the appearance subscreen. Remember to use your mouse, highlight, and read. That is the main thing that Destiny players do not do sometimes, or forget to do. I'm not gonna say they do not do. Sometimes we forget to read. We get so tunnel vision and headstrong, we just bolt right in. Always remember to take a step back, deep breath. If you forget or have trouble doing something, let me stop, let me read, and go on from there. There's always going to be an indicator in the game. Another thing I didn't touch on was these buffs right here. This, a lot of people skip over. So if you use one of the consumables, and I used Rainmaker earlier, it will show up here and let you know the duration. A lot of people don't know this. They kind of gloss over this. So if you use a consumable and it has a time frame on it, you can come over here to check that time frame if it gives you a buff. If it's a consumable that says you defeat this enemy and it gives you a drop, it'll drop on the ground and it'll drop as an engram that you can pick up. and it'll pop up on your screen that you collected it, go into your inventory, brand new. All right, but here's where you see your buffs that you have over time. Some buffs are related to seasons, some buffs are related to events. Just keep in mind and see what you have here if you think you have a buff going on. Some modifiers do show up here too, and that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If there's anything that you think I missed or could have added into this, let me know down in the comments below. Next video is going to be about the Triumphs, Collections, and Clan tab. I'll try to have that done at the beginning of the week maybe, so keep an eye out on that. And to know when that gets posted up, make sure you turn on notifications on the channel, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you did enjoy the channel, like and share to your friends if you know somebody who could potentially use these videos. And I appreciate you guys watching. If you want to catch me live, I stream on Twitch 7 days a week. My Sundays are dedicated to variety games. My Mondays are dedicated to Soulsborne games, and my Saturdays are dedicated to Resident Evil games. But my Tuesdays through Fridays are all dedicated to Destiny 2 content. So I stream across all those series of games. If you like any of that stuff, feel free to click the follow button on my Twitch channel. Link in the description below, and you'll see it at the top here too. So other than that, appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you on the next video.